let's go back now that we know a little something about where the Warriors are probably going in terms of who's going to run the transactions for the team. Let's go back to what Bob Myers said the other day about Mike Dunleavy Jr.
Mike's great. He's as good a GM as if he wants it, he'll be great if that's what he wants. It's his call. It's Joe's call. It's not my call, but that's what he wants to do. He'll be great. He knows more about basketball than I do. He's grew up in it. He was born into it with his dad. He played in it. That's his calling. And that wasn't my thought at the time, honestly. I just thought we're always looking for people that'll make us better. Joe's always about bringing in talent. I didn't have an idea at the time that I was grooming him. I mean, he's more my friend than coworker, but he's really good. And he would be fantastic if that's the choice. But I'd be lying if I thought 4 years ago, let's bring in Mike and he can assume this thing. If I told him if that's what he wants, then I'm all fully supportive. I said I'll help with Draymond if he needs it.
That's probably all you need to do, by the way. Like, if you've got Bob's help with Draymond, that is a significant difference versus no Bob at all. I've been asked, I bet you have too, a number of times, like, what are the Warriors really losing here in Bob Myers? And I just think that fans, a lot of times, especially the ones who are like, this is an exec. What are we really worried about here? Like, other people can draft players and sign free agents. To me, Bob Myers, and this would be the challenge for Mike Dunleavy Jr., and this is what I can't answer. I don't know how he is on this front. What the Warriors lost in Bob Myers is not a smart basketball person who knows how to draft a player. I bet Mike can do that great. What they lost is the person who has all the relationships in the building to hold hands, mend fences, and navigate all the difficult times. That's what Bob did so well, and that's what I think is irreplaceable.
And Guru mentioned it earlier in terms of any business. It's about the people skills, the people relationships, and that's where any of us who have jobs, the true relationships from the boss all the way through. If you have a boss that feels like they connect to every single person from Joan and payroll all the way up to the VP or the COO or whatever other job you have in your company, those are the leaders that we all love. And that's what Bob Myers seemed to bring to the Golden State Warriors. If you can be the Draymond whisperer, but also be a guy that is beloved across all corridors and all corners of the organization, that's what you want. Now, can Mike Dunleavy Jr. be that person? Probably not right away, but I'm sure he already has relationships with many of the players, and it's not like he was sitting in an office by himself and now he's being unearthed and released into Gen Pop. It's like, oh my God, who are you? Are you Mike Dunleavy Jr.? I'm sure he's already built up these relationships, but can he be like Bob or as good as Bob? Probably not. He has to be his own man if he gets the job.
Yeah, speaking of being his own man, this is a first. I've never had this put up in front of me. Let people behind the curtain a little bit. When you hear a sound clip like you just did, usually in the Bob Myers thing, so I get this board over here, and it's got all of these, right, all of the things that we might want to hear.
You got buttons.
During the show. I got buttons. And I got a little mouse, and I click on the button, and then poof, it starts playing. And that's what we just did now. Never before in the history of this show have I hit the button, and the person who starts talking is Matt Steinmetz. That's never happened before.
Are you about to push Steiny's buttons? Because that's happened before.
Willard, stuck it in me.
I was going to say that.
I've given myself before for that on a Friday.
Pretty good.
Thank you.
Pretty good. No, I'm not about to.
Before,
I've been doing that for months.
Yeah, you have.
That for months.
Yes, Steiny.
You know what I'm saying?
Uh-huh.
You enjoy that appointment wherever you're going, Steiny. I hope you got there fast.
You can almost see it from here.
Really?
Set your clock for Thirsty.
So he actually didn't need to get out that quickly.
No, he did.
He did?
Yeah.
What are they closing or something on a Friday night?
No, but there's plenty of good seats only available till about 2:15.
Oh, I'm so out.
Totally.
Well, so we know what Bob said, but ladies and gentlemen, what did Matt Steinmetz say about the situation at hand?
You know what? I think I'm going to do this because I know a little bit about this business. The heck, I'm going to do it. I got sources. I don't tout them a lot, but I got sources.
I always knew you had them.
Next GM of the Warriors is going to be Mike Dunleavy, according to my sources.
Do you know when that'll happen?
I don't. They got to agree to money. They've got to agree to money, but if the money's right, Dunleavy's going to be here.
Steiny with a rat on the table. Not brought to you at the time by Atco Pest Control. Go to atcopestcontrol.com for all your pest control needs.
Well done.
You're welcome,
Wouldn't
Gil.
that be fun if Woj and Shams tweeted that way? Like they got on Twitter and they're like, all right. I mean, I know some things. Should I do it? Should I hit send? I think I'm going to tweet it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's tweet it. LeBron James is going to the Lakers. Maybe.
If the money's right.
No, there it is. And look,
There it is.
I have not had any in-depth conversations with anybody about this, but I assumed it. We've been talking about it for a couple of weeks. You should let everybody know why there might be, and we've had a caller or two be like, no, not Mike Dunleavy Jr., there's PTSD there. I think a lot of Warrior fans are cruising around going, I don't even know what that is. I mean, they know what PTSD is, but what is it? What is it that would make a Warrior fan be hesitant after the first Mike Dunleavy Jr. experience?
It's called history, Mark, and the history of the Golden State Warriors that preceded the 2002 NBA draft, in which the Golden State Warriors picked third. And with the third pick in the 2002 draft, they selected Mike Dunleavy Jr. out of Duke. He was the second Duke player taken after Jay Williams, who would have a motorcycle accident that ended his career before it started some weeks later. Yao Ming goes 1, Jay Williams goes 2, Dunleavy Jr. goes 3, Drew Gooden out of El Cerrito High, shout out to 510, he went 4th, and I won't bore you with the Amari Stoudemires and the Caron Butlers. It was not a good draft. But what happened before
those
that?
Were good players, though. Those were good players.
Yes, but if I
Who was
can...
number 5 after Drew Gooden? Do you have it in front of you?
Nicolas Chikvili.
Oh, that's... Yeah, you know
DeJuan Wagner went 6.
You know how that last name is actually pronounced. You might get dumped if you say it. You remember how it was pronounced.
Does it rhyme with Casey Schmidt?
I was always like, this is the worst basketball name for broadcasters in the history of ever. Somebody's going to get fired, and all they're trying to do is pass along information.
Other names in the lottery, Nene.
Nene!
He had an okay career. Chris Wilcox, Jared Jeffries, former Warrior.
Yep.
Melvin Eli, Marcus Haslip, Fred Jones, Bosjan Nachbar, Yuri Welsh, former Warrior.
Who are you?
Juan Dixon, former Warrior.
Former Warrior.
I mean, you can't make this up.
Right.
Curtis Borchard out of Stanford.
We used to hang out in the lottery a lot, man.
Dude.
We used to hang out
Kareem
in the lottery.
Rush,
Oh,
former Warrior. I mean,
Yep.
Quintel Woods, not a former Warrior, but Casey Jacobson out of Stanford. The point being the 2002 draft was bad.
Okay.
But what preceded that, Mark, is what led to it. What preceded it and what followed it. Because before 2002, the Warriors were 21-61 the previous year. Before that, they won 17, 19, 21, and 19. So 4 years of 21 wins or fewer leads up to a moment where you're going to have the third pick. Finally, we're going to get a player. We're going to get the next Joe Smith. Apologies. We're going to get the next Joe Barry Carroll. We're going to get the next Chris Webber. I mean, Chris Webber at least was a player where I know the Warriors drafted Vince Carter, but he turned into Chris Webber and Webber left, whatever. This was going to be our time and our chance. And you draft Mike Dunleavy Jr., and he never really worked out. And you draft Dunleavy Jr., and they were better, 38, 37, 34, 34 wins. And then finally, halfway through the next year, you trade him. You trade Dunleavy Jr. and Ike Diago, another failed lottery pick, and a couple of other players. Beadrins was a part of that trade, and you get back, essentially, we believe.
Al Harrington,
Yes,
Steven Jackson.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So Dunleavy Jr. came in when the team was awful, didn't do much at all, even though he was taken third overall. And then when he got traded, the Warriors had their best year since the TMC year. So he is scapegoated because of circumstance.
It's funny, though, when he didn't work out. Well, if you traded him for something that was great, then did he work out?
It was an 8-player trade, Mark.
I understand that.
And picks were flying.
Picks were flying, but was he or was he not one of the main names in the deal? So,
yeah, I don't.
If he wasn't great, that's one thing. He had built up enough of value in order to be sent somewhere else. let me ask you this. If Jordan Poole gets traded this offseason and whatever the Warriors get in return puts them back on top of the mountain, did Jordan Poole work out or not?
Well, Jordan Poole's already done more in his career than Mike Dunleavy Jr. did as a Warrior.
Yeah, but a lot of people are very uncomfortable at the idea of $28 million a year for what they saw last year.
It was Troy Murphy along with Dunleavy Jr. So Troy Murphy, Ike Diagu, Keith McLeod for Steven Jackson, Al Harrington, Sarunas, not that Sharunas,
not Marcelonis,
Jasikevicic, and Josh Powell. It was a 4-for-4 deal. The very rare 4-for-4.
I like that.
And at the time, I'm sure the Pacers were thinking, we want to get rid of Steven Jackson, Malice in the Palace, and Al Harrington wasn't working out.
Oh, gosh, right. They're like those guys are in the back smoking weed all day, and Don Nelson's like, I'll take him.
All the smoke.
Yeah.
All the smoke.
Bring him.
Nelly's like, what the hell's that? I'm on the beer. Yeah. What the hell are you guys smoking?
He's like, perfect.
Get me a piece of that.
Bring them to me.
Totally.
Yeah.
And then they got added alongside Matt Barnes and Baron Davis, Boom Dizzle.
Sure.
And so it was kind of double addition by subtraction, but Dunleavy Jr. I wouldn't say was the centerpiece of that trade.
No, 4-for-4, and I don't even know of all 8 of them, which one was the centerpiece? Who was the biggest, right?
Maybe Ike Diagu.
Genos Mas Macho. Who's making the most money? Who can you match the salaries up? Do you have that?
I'm looking right
All
now.
right, see if you can find that. I wonder of those 8 players, who was making the most money?
Dunleavy Jr.
at the time of acquisition.
Oh my God! I'm reading from Bleacher Report, and this is from 2008. He was drafted 3rd. He was just beginning the start of 5 very rough years in the Bay Area. Dunleavy was called an underachiever and a bust. Still, he was signed to a 5-year extension worth $44 million after 3 less than stellar years with Golden State.
Yep.
So there you go. And that speaks to Golden State at the time. So Dunleavy Jr. is not great as the 3rd overall, yet they signed him to a 5-year, $44 million monster deal at the time.
Because, again, whether that ended up being the right thing or not, we could debate all day and we won't. But the point is as much of a bust as he may have been, it's not like he wasn't a viable NBA player. He had done enough to where it's like, it's better to sign him than just let him go. And then he was enough of an asset to be involved in a trade that brought you Al Harrington and Steven Jackson and all that smoke.
May I continue to read?
Please.
Because this is a very telling paragraph. Adding fuel to the fire, he was constantly booed by Oakland fans.
Yeah.
When Don Nelson arrived in Golden State in 2006, he called the player soft. And Dunleavy found himself at the end of Nelson's bench.
There you go.
So, and this was, I think, part of the sentiment of Warriors fans because Nelly comes in and it's like, Dunleavy Jr. is soft and now he's benched. And, Nelly was the loudest guy in the room. So we all were riding with Nelly. And then when he got traded, Nelly trades him and you bring in the players who become We Believe. It was easy for fans to say, attaboy Nelly, that guy was soft. He was a bust.
Yeah, Granny, what's up?
By the way, Troy Murphy, the highest paid player in that trade, $8.2 million.
Oh.
Mike Dunleavy, $7.4. Al Harrington, $7.6. Steven Jackson, $6.1.
There's barely a mid-level exception now, but yeah,
Right.
that's what they
Oh my
were.
God.
That's what they were making.
And that's 16 years ago.
Yeah.
2007.
I mean, I don't know.
But that is kind of a brief history of why.
Dunleavy didn't like the fans, and the fans didn't like him. I get that.
And his expression, honestly, Mark,
I know.
I can close my eyes.
But you know what?
And I can look at the Dunleavy Jr., his expression.
I hate that.
Are you familiar with the expression hangdog?
Yes.
He's a little like a teenager when you tell him, give me your phone.
Seriously.
You got a couple of those.
Do you know that I take a lap around my block when I get more than one word out of the teenager? It's unbelievable.
Victory lap?
Oh, my gosh. I have a horn at the house. Oh, yeah. It's like balloons come out, music starts. Bam, 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 bam. You're like, I'm asking open-ended questions just to see if I
was
get
your day?
anything. Yeah.
Fine.
What did you do today? Nothing. What do you want for dinner? Whatever. Like, if I get a second word,
I'm
like,
giving you a 5 for your kids right now. Giving you a 5 for your
It's
Abe.
unbelievable. So, okay, here's what's funny, though, in sports.
What was your favorite part of the day today? Stuff.
Nothing.
Totally.
Oh my gosh. Sometimes you have to celebrate if the word is even a word, because sometimes it's just a noise.
Grunt.
Yeah. How was school today? You're just like, oh God. It's unbelievable. Anyway, point being, here's what's crazy in sports. We do this all the time, and sometimes we decide it's fine. Richard Sherman played for the Niners, and you were fine with it. If you've been around for a minute. Oral Hershiser, Randy Johnson, these people pitched for the Giants, and you showed up with a ticket and a glove and a smile. So why do we have to go back 15 years? I didn't like the draft pick. And now this has something to do with a completely different time and a completely different era in a completely different role. Like, I don't know. This for me, it literally does nothing. Like, I have zero anxiety or angst attached to the name Mike Dunleavy Jr. as general manager of the Warriors.
I'm with you 99.9%.
But
the 0.1% is the memory. And I can't, and I'm not going to say I can't get past the memory, because I've talked to Mike Dunleavy Jr. multiple times in my job as interviewer and radio host. And when I look at Mike Dunleavy Jr. across from us at the Warriors shop or in the suite or at Chase or on the phone or whatever, I don't immediately think, well, boy, how bad were you as a Warrior? Couldn't wait to get rid of you. And when you got dealt, we got good finally. I don't think about that at all. But I do know that there is that small sliver to where if Mike Dunleavy Jr. doesn't do well, let's say the Warriors don't make the playoffs next year and they get the number 3 pick in the draft, which is what he was. And they use that number 3 pick in the draft and they draft a player who's Dunleavyan. All of that's going to come back around, Mark, and not because of me. And I'm all for Mike. I know Mike a little bit. We've talked to Mike. I'm happy for Mike if he gets the gig, but there is a little bit of that muscle memory of having been through it.
I think we should be the healing show for Mike. If Mike gets that gig, Mike can come on, and we will not only congratulate him and talk about the Warrior draft, we can be the conduit to the healing. Mike, what do you want to say about 2007? And then the fans can rally back with what they want to say back. We clear it, and we move on. He's probably going to say no to that interview. But anyway.
No, it's a yes, for sure, because he loves us.
Yeah.
And from Never Go Full Jeff on the YouTube, Dunleavy might know more basketball than Myers, but Myers knows people better than Dunleavy, and that ultimately is the biggest challenge for Dunleavy.
I agree, ... we think. I don't know who Mike is behind the scenes.
Yeah.
I don't know what his relationship with Day-Day is. And what I have learned is what we see in the media during a playing career, wow, that is not necessarily the person. Just because they don't like a microphone, hey, Mike, what happened there in the third quarter? That does,
like a teenager.
That does not mean that that's Mike. For me, the number one example of this is Bill Belichick. That's not him. On to Cincinnati. That's not him. He has got a big personality.
Yeah, we're on to Cincinnati.
Thank you. A wry, sarcastic type of a sense of humor. Is someone who will spend time with his people. That's his media persona. That's what he wants it to be.
Right. But that is part of him.
His media persona.
Whatever. If your persona, like who I am on the radio, may not be who I am as a father or as a husband, but it is me because I do this for 1/6 of my day.
Except for
so you can't divorce yourself from who you are at any point in your day.
Yes and no.
Yes and yes.
Well, no, I say yes and no because literally, in the job that we have, I don't think you can succeed if you're inauthentic. In the job that he has, oh yeah, you can. Well, Bill Belichick at a podium is inauthentic.
There's authentic, and then there's authentic light because you and I, the way you talk,
chemicals?
the way you talk on the microphone, and the way I talk. like you and I have conversations off the air,
Yeah.
and they're not in the same way that we converse on the air.
Well, I let you talk off the air.
It's a miracle. Actually, you barely talk to me off the air.
Yeah,
I can't shut you up.
I'm out of words when I'm done with this. Are you kidding? Listen to me. My gosh, it's nauseating.